Hello collectors and welcome to my review of NECA's Coyote Tango. Despite having minimal screen time, the Jaeger that saved Mako Mori is now in figure format. Let's see if it has what it takes to be a part of your collection. The best thing Coyote has going for it would be its looks, and man, does this Jaeger look good. Sculpt-wise, you can see all of the small grooves on Coyote, whether it's on the torso, the thighs, the back of the legs, the back, and even on the rails for the cannons. As you can see here, from the front and the back view, and even from the top. The shoulder discs here, if that's what you want to call them, they look neat, and if you take a look at all the small little grooves and gadgets on the arms, they look pretty sweet. Coyote's three-fingered fist even looks pretty cool too. NECA even went all out on the sculpt detailing under his feet. How cool is that? Normally, you'd probably think to yourself at this point, okay, great sculpt, but the paint is probably lacking, right? Nope, not here. Stepping their game up, the paint detailings on Coyote are amazing, with small little decorations here and there, fantastic weathering, and paint lines that aren't sloppy and are very straight. Coyote's head has this nice blue to it, and it stays within the windows for the con pod. The red lines on Coyote look nice and uniform, no hiccups or small little bubbles in the paint anywhere, and they're very straight. My camera isn't picking it up too well here, but there's brown weathering here on Coyote's arms, thighs, and even here on the back, including the cannon right here. And speaking of the cannons, there are some nice little touches that can be found on them. Starting with all the little symbols that can be found on Coyote, I'll start with these here at the tips of the cannons. They look fantastic. The 34s that are found on the shoulders are a nice touch. Alongside the USAF, you can see clearly right there on the chest. And even the absolutely clear lettering and numbers that can be found on the forearms. With so many small details in the paint job and the sculpt, Coyote looks nice enough for the price point. Sadly, that's about where the ride ends for this Jaeger. Sadly, almost like a retread of Series 1, Coyote Tango's articulation is a bit lacking. To start with, the head is on a ball joint. You can easily move it around. No complaints there. And the shoulder cannons are on this track, right here, that you can see moving, which allows them to be positioned forward, nearly all the way so to the point where they're pointing down. And just as easily, they can be pushed back to a neutral position. The shoulders are on a ball joint, so you're going to get some movement out of them all the way around, but really, Coyote Tango is not going to be lifting its arms up too much. The bicep has a swivel to it that is on a ball joint. Unfortunately, due to the design of Coyote Tango, you're not going to get much out of that ball joint. Next up would be the elbows, which are kind of craptacular. Lots of movement backwards, not so much forward. Seems kind of counterproductive, but luckily the double ball jointed hands allow for a nicer bend. As you can see, the wrists are attached to the forearm on a ball joint, and the hands themselves are actually on a different ball joint. The waist of Coyote Tango is on a ball joint, so you can get it to turn around, yippee, all the way, which is about, I would say, the standard. The hips of Coyote Tango, luckily, are on a ball joint, so you can get some movement. There's no real fear of snapping that you would get from, say, Striker Eureka. And the thighs, as you can see, are on a swivel. So you can get some interesting poses out of that, I suppose. The knees are on a hinge, also limited, much like the elbows, and the feet are connected on a ball joint. So, overall though, Coyote Tango is pretty limited in articulation, because on paper, I mean, yeah, sure, the bicep swivel, the thigh swivel, the elbow, the waist joint, It all looks fine and dandy, but in terms of application, Coyote Tango's design doesn't really allow for articulation to work wonderfully. It's a nice attempt, sure, but if you're looking for an articulated figure, Coyote Tango will not meet your needs. Some cool poses can be taken, but really, it's a kind of throwback to Series 1 Gypsy Danger, sadly. So, how does Coyote Tango size up with some of the other figures in your collection? Here is Coyote Tango alongside some Choice Ultra Act releases. Size-wise, Coyote Tango definitely beats the Rebel Tech figures. He's much, much taller. Here is Coyote Tango alongside some Monster Arts releases. Last but not least, here is Coyote Tango alongside some Pacific Rim figures. You pretty much have a rough idea of how tall it is compared to the other releases in the line. So, nab Coyote Tango now, skip it, or maybe should you wait for a sale? Visually, Coyote is stunning. The sculpt is near perfect, and the little paint detailings are great to find as you're looking all over the figure when you first open it up out of the package. Sadly, the articulation is pretty crappy, and though a few poses can be taken overall, it's not going to be doing too much. Size-wise, it doesn't take up too much shelf space, though do be careful, as I've read some reports of Coyote taking a shelf dive, and it tends to take other figures alongside with it. Even posing for the end of this review thought process, Coyote's tipped over quite a few times. When the dust settles, fans of the Seacre will love this release, while those just looking to complete the line will find yet another release to add onto the shelf. For $20, Coyote Tango, it's not bad, but when looking at the greatness that is Cherno Alpha that was released alongside it, you can't help but wonder if maybe a little bit more effort could have been put into Coyote Tango in the articulation department.